Audiobooks have become one of the most powerful formats in publishing today. For over a decade, audiobook sales have kept growing. And audio is often the format that turns a casual reader into a devoted fan who buys everything you release. But before you can enjoy that growth, you need to understand three key decisions. Who owns the audiobook rights? Who narrates the book? And where the finished audiobook actually gets sold? Let's break down each of these, no matter which publishing path you're on. First, a quick note. Audiobook royalty structures have genuinely been in flux through 2026. Sources currently disagree on some of the exact percentages. So in this video, we'll focus on the mechanics and the trade-offs, rather than committing to numbers that may already be outdated. Let's start with rights, because this decision cuts across every publishing path. Whether you're traditionally published, with a small press, in a hybrid deal, or fully self-published, you all eventually face the same audiobook questions. Audiobook rights don't belong to any single path. Think of audiobook as its own decision, layered on top of whatever path you've already chosen. So who owns these rights right now? If you're traditionally or small press published, don't assume audiobook rights are automatically included with your print and ebook rights. But don't assume they're automatically excluded either. Publishing contracts increasingly bundle audio into the same grant of rights as everything else. Sometimes it hides under a broad heading like electronic and digital rights, without naming audio specifically. Here's a key insight. If your publisher has no active audiobook program and no plan to build one, retaining those rights yourself can be worth far more than leaving them dormant inside a contract. If you're in a hybrid or partnership deal, apply the same careful scrutiny to audio that you would to any subsidiary right. Check whether audio is actually named in the contract. Check what share of audio income you'd receive if the press produces or licenses it. And check whether you can carve audio out and handle it yourself if the press has no real audio distribution capability. And if you're self-published, you already own these rights outright. This entire chapter is about what to do with them. Now let's talk about the narration decision. There are 4 real paths, and each one trades cost, time, and quality differently. The first is professional human narration. This typically runs $150 to $400 or more per finished hour. A useful rule of thumb is that roughly 6 hours of production labor go into every single finished hour of audio. That includes casting, recording, editing, and mastering. A 90,000-word novel runs somewhere around 9 to 10 finished hours, which puts a professionally narrated audiobook's production cost solidly into 4 figures. The second path is royalty share. Here, a narrator agrees to record your book for no upfront fee. In exchange, they split the resulting royalties with you, commonly 50/50. This removes your upfront cost entirely, but it means giving up half your audio income for as long as that arrangement runs. And finding a narrator willing to work this way usually requires a stronger sales history to make the bet worth their time. The third path is AI narration. This has moved from novelty to a genuinely usable option in just the last few years. But it's worth understanding where it is, and isn't currently accepted. Audible's own ACX platform does not accept AI-narrated audiobooks for distribution. Separately, Amazon's Kindle platform has its own virtual voice tool. This generates an AI narration for an ebook you already have on Amazon. But that's a distinct Amazon feature, separate from an ACX-produced, Audible-distributed audiobook. Don't confuse the two when you're planning your distribution strategy. Other AI voice platforms exist entirely outside Amazon's ecosystem. These can be used for wide distribution wherever AI narration is accepted. Quality varies considerably between tools, and listener reception is mixed. Some readers don't notice or don't mind. Others actively avoid AI-narrated titles. So weigh this against your specific audience, rather than treating it as a universal cost saver. The fourth path is self-narration. If you have decent recording equipment, a voice you're comfortable using for hours, and the time to do it, narrating your own book costs nothing but your labor. This works particularly well for memoir and nonfiction. It's less predictable for fiction with multiple distinct character voices, which is a genuine skill separate from writing. Here's a practical example. A debut author with no existing audience and a limited budget is often better served by royalty share, or a careful AI narration pass. That's usually smarter than a $2,500 upfront professional cost that may take years to earn back on modest early sales. Now let's move to distribution. Your core choice is exclusive versus wide. Let's start with ACX and Audible. Audible remains the dominant audiobook retailer by a wide margin, and ACX is the only path to Audible distribution for an independent author. Historically, ACX offered a meaningfully higher royalty rate in exchange for exclusivity. That exclusivity locks your audiobook to Audible, Amazon, and Apple Books only. The alternative is a lower rate that lets you distribute everywhere else at the same time. Here's some good news. The exclusivity commitment itself has gotten far less restrictive in recent years. Older terms locked authors in for years at a stretch. Current terms run closer to a 90-day minimum before you can request a one-time switch. Again, Audible's royalty structure has been actively changing through 2026, so treat any specific percentage you read as a starting point to verify directly on ACX before committing. Now let's look at everywhere else. Spotify for Authors gives you direct access to Spotify's audiobook catalog. Broader aggregators distribute to Apple Books, Kobo, Google Play, and library platforms like Hoopla and Overdrive. They reach dozens of smaller retailers in a single upload, without requiring exclusivity. And where AI-narrated audiobooks aren't accepted on ACX, they often find a home through these wider channels instead. So what does a common working pattern look like? Many independent authors run ACX non-exclusive, alongside a wide aggregator and Spotify for authors directly. They trade a somewhat lower Audible royalty rate for simultaneous presence everywhere else, rather than locking into one channel. And given how much shorter the exclusivity commitment has become, another realistic option is to test exclusive distribution on a new release and switch later based on actual sales data. One more tool worth knowing is WhisperSync. Where available, this links your Kindle ebook and your Audible audiobook. A reader who already owns one can add the other at a reduced price. It's a genuine sales driver for readers who like switching between reading and listening. And it's available whether your distribution is exclusive or wide. Finally, let's cover a few production basics worth planning around. Start with file structure. Nearly every distribution platform expects a separate audio file per chapter, not one long file for the whole book. Planning around chapter-length files from the start saves you from re-splitting a finished master later. A professional voice actor should provide individual files for each chapter, including the title page and any introduction pages. Next is the audio proofing pass. Whether your narrator is human or AI-generated, budget time for a dedicated listening pass. This pass focuses only on catching errors, mispronounced names, skipped lines, mismatched chapter breaks, and awkward pacing around punctuation. This catches problems that a purely technical quality check misses, because it requires actually listening the way a reader will. And don't forget metadata. The same discoverability principles that apply to your ebook apply here too. So let's bring it all together. Audiobook is a decision layered on top of your publishing path, not tied to any single one. First, confirm who owns the rights. Then choose your narration route based on your budget, your audience, and your time. Finally, decide between the higher royalties of exclusivity and the reach of wide distribution. Treat this format seriously, plan it carefully, and it can become one of the strongest drivers of your author career.